The stars were silent when humanity first encountered the Zytherian armada. The fleet arrived in the Sol system like a storm of black shards, massive warships glinting coldly in the sunlight. They were sleek, alien, and terrifying. Each ship radiated power beyond human imagination. In the United Galactic Council, species from countless worlds gathered to witness humanity. Most of them had already met humans in diplomatic channels. The consensus was unanimous: harmless, primitive, and slow. Ambassador Cottrill of the Zytherian leaned over the council's central table, his insectoid mandibles clicking in amusement. "Humanity," he hissed, "your people are children playing with sticks. Surrender, and we might let your species survive another century." Earth's representative, General Elena Torres, a woman who had fought wars on 5 continents, did not flinch. She adjusted the small, silver microphone before her. "We do not surrender," she said simply. "We survive. That is what we do." Her words were met with laughter. The Council, a galaxy-spanning forum, was used to formal diplomacy. Humans' blunt defiance was unusual. Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, the first Zytherian scouting fleet unleashed its drones to probe the planet. Cities blinked in terror. Millions watched as enormous ships blocked out the sun, their shadows stretching across continents. Human militaries scrambled jets and missiles, but conventional weapons did almost nothing. The alien ships were faster, stronger, and better armed. Yet humanity did not panic. Secret bunkers under the Sahara, Siberia, and the Andes were already humming with scientists, engineers, and soldiers. Human fleets, small but cunning, mobilized in asteroid belts and hidden orbital stations. Dr. Kiran Shah, Earth's top quantum engineer, explained to the UN Emergency Council, "We've studied their ships. They're advanced, yes, but rigid. Their AI calculates in patterns. Humans, we think outside the pattern." On a frozen moon of Jupiter, Captain Marcus Lee watched a Zytherian drone fall into a trap. "It didn't see the net," he said with a grim smile. "We've set up the first puzzle." And it worked. The drone, meant to map human defenses, was shredded by a swarm of magnetic nets. The humans did not destroy it in firepower, they defeated it with cleverness. Across the galaxy, sensors caught the anomaly, but no one yet understood the scale of human ingenuity. That night, as the Zytherian fleet hovered above Earth, Ambassador Cottrill sent a message. "You are bold humans. But boldness will not save you." General Torres responded, "We do not fight to survive. We fight to win. See you soon." The war had begun, but the galaxy did not yet see what it had unleashed. Humans were underestimated. They always were. Part 2: The First Strike. 2 weeks after the initial standoff, the humans launched a counterattack. Not a conventional assault, but a calculated strike against the Zytherian supply chain in the Orion Belt. Small, agile corvettes, painted black and armed with experimental railguns, darted from asteroid to asteroid. The Zytherian command expected slow human fleets, but instead they found attacks that were precise, unpredictable, and devastating. Admiral Vash of the Zytherian barked at his officers. "How are they here already? They should not even have reached this sector." Lieutenant Kreither replied nervously, "Their movements are unusual, nonlinear. They do not follow patterns like other species. It is cunning." Meanwhile, on Earth, General Torres coordinated the strikes from an underground command center. Holographic displays of the Orion Belt flickered, showing railguns striking at supply drones. The Zytherian fleet had thousands of ships, yet a handful of humans crippled their operations. In one particularly tense scene, Captain Lee's corvette dodged a plasma volley by making a sharp maneuver through a dense asteroid field. His co-pilot, Lieutenant Mei Ling, laughed. "They're chasing shadows. Again." Every time the Zytherian tried to predict human strategy, they failed. Humans used improvisation, chaos, and deception in ways that no AI or battle computer could anticipate. The first strike shocked the galaxy. News feeds from independent star systems began broadcasting the anomaly. Humans, the weak species, were actually lethal. The Council could no longer ignore them. Ambassador Cottrill summoned an emergency meeting. "These humans, they are not as we expected," he muttered. "Their courage borders on madness." General Torres, watching the Zytherian reaction via intercepted communications, smiled. "Let them underestimate us," she said. "It makes the victory sweeter." By the end of the first strike, dozens of Zytherian cargo ships were destroyed. Resource lines for the alien fleet faltered. The humans had no chance in raw firepower, but strategy, ingenuity, and adaptation had turned the tide. Across the galaxy, whispers began. The humans were not children. They were predators disguised as prey. Part 3, The Siege of Titan. The Zytherian decided to strike back. Titan, Saturn's largest moon, became the battlefield. It was rich in helium-3 and strategic for human orbital defenses. Overhead, alien capital ships blotted out Saturn. Their weapon systems glowed with lethal intent. On the frozen surface, human forces prepared an ambush. Colonel Ingrid Vega surveyed her troops. They think they'll crush us with firepower. They do not know what humans do best: adapt. The battle began with a deafening roar as plasma beams tore the Titanian atmosphere. Human mechs and drones, camouflaged in ice, launched attacks that were unpredictable. Some moved like lightning. Others used the environment as traps. Admiral Vash watched in disbelief. How? They anticipated our approach. It was human cunning. Engineers had built holographic decoys, making the Zytherian fire at illusions. Mines buried under the ice erupted at the perfect moment, crippling several alien cruisers. Amid the chaos, humans evacuated civilians and scientists from research stations, demonstrating not only military brilliance but compassion, a trait many aliens underestimated. Colonel Vega radioed General Torres, "Titan is secure. They will rethink their strategy, or die trying." The galaxy took note. News of Titan spread faster than the battle itself. Humans were not only surviving, they were dominating. In council chambers, alien leaders whispered, "Perhaps we miscalculated." Part 4, The Human Gambit. Humans did not stop at defense. They launched Operation Apex, a coordinated strike across multiple star systems to cut Zytherian supply chains and communications simultaneously. In a secret command station on Europa, Dr. Shah explained, "We can't match their firepower, but we can outthink them. Every strike will force them to choose between defending one point or losing another. And humans are everywhere." The operation was a chess game. One fleet feinted an attack in Proxima Centauri, drawing alien ships away, while a smaller squad hit their main logistics hub in Epsilon Eridani. The Zytherians scrambled. "Their strategy, it is beyond any pattern we know," shouted Admiral Vash. "How can one species fight in so many places at once?" By the end of the campaign, human ingenuity had created chaos in the Zytherian command network. Supply chains collapsed, morale plummeted, and doubts spread like wildfire. The galaxy watched humans transform from underdogs into legends. Part 5, Betrayal in the Council. The Council, uneasy with humanity's rise. 2 weeks after the Zytherian first arrived in the Sol system, humanity struck back, not with a head-on battle, but with a plan so daring it would shock the galaxy. The operation was called Vanguard, a coordinated assault on the Zytherian supply lines deep in the Orion Belt, far from Earth's orbit. On the command deck of the stealth corvette Horizon, Captain Marcus Lee stared at the holographic map of the Orion sector. Tiny icons blinked across the display, representing alien cargo ships, escort frigates, and automated defense satellites. "Look at them," Lee said, voice calm, almost reverent. "Thousands of ships. And they think they've already won." Lieutenant Mei Ling, his co-pilot, tapped the display, tracing a planned route through a cluster of dense asteroids. "They'll never expect us here. We're ghosts." The plan was simple in theory: disrupt the Zytherian logistics network without engaging in a traditional fight. The humans had no hope of matching the aliens in firepower, but they had something far deadlier: creativity, unpredictability, and absolute audacity. Dr. Kiran Shah, Earth's top strategist, had spent nights running simulations in secret quantum servers hidden beneath the Andes. "Their AI anticipates patterns," she said via secure HoloLink. "They calculate 6 steps ahead, but humans never follow patterns. Every move will be a surprise. Every strike, a question they cannot answer." The first strike began with stealth. Small corvettes emerged from the shadow of massive asteroids, their dark hulls blending with the void. The Zytherian drones, equipped with advanced sensors, swept the area, but they were trained to detect conventional movement. Humans moved like living shadows. "Deploy the decoys," Lee ordered. Tiny, holographic ships flickered to life, mimicking human corvettes in the distance. Plasma turrets fired at them, leaving the real corvettes untouched. The humans didn't just strike, they manipulated perception. Mines hidden in asteroid crevices erupted at exact intervals, shredding cargo ships before the aliens even realized they were under attack. Supply vessels exploded in bursts of green fire, helium-3 scattering into space like sparks. Back on Earth, General Elena Torres watched from the command center beneath the Pacific Ocean. Hundreds of officers surrounded her, tension tight as a drum. She didn't breathe until the first data came in. "They've done it," said Lieutenant Rami Khan, pointing at the feed. "The Orion supply hub, destroyed. The aliens lost 20 ships in less than an hour." Torres smiled grimly. "Good. But don't let them see us smiling yet. This is only the beginning." The Zytherian Admiral Vash, aboard the battlecruiser Avarice, was in shock. His mandibles clicked nervously. How is this possible? They should not have reached the Orion belt." "Sir," said his tactical officer, trembling, "they're unpredictable. Every strike they appear where we do not expect. Every maneuver, outside calculated probabilities." Vash roared, his anger like a hurricane across the bridge. "Prepare countermeasures. Scramble interceptors. Do not let a single human escape." Lee watched the alien response carefully. "Here they come," he said quietly. The Zytherian frigates, faster than anything humans had, surged toward the corvettes. But humans fought differently. They didn't rely solely on weapons. They relied on traps, improvisation, and deception. One squadron lured enemy ships into a dense asteroid field, weaving between rocks the size of small moons. As the Zytherian cruisers pursued, the humans triggered magnetic nets and collapsing asteroids. Ships were shredded, ripped apart by gravity and steel. "Did they just?" Mei Ling began. She didn't finish. The viewports showed the results. The Orion strike became a symphony of chaos. Human ingenuity allowed a handful of corvettes to cripple supply lines meant to support an entire invasion fleet. The Zytherian were forced to divide their forces, abandoning offensive positions just to defend logistics. Meanwhile, hidden human surveillance satellites recorded every alien movement. Dr. Shah analyzed patterns and fed predictions to the field commanders. Humans used these insights not to fight directly, but to control the battlefield. By nightfall, the Orion belt was a graveyard of alien cargo ships, drones, and escort frigates. The humans had not only survived, they had succeeded beyond expectations. But the victory was more than strategic. It sent a message. Across the galaxy, observers recorded the anomaly. Humans, weak, unarmed, supposedly primitive, had struck at the heart of a superior alien species and emerged unscathed. In the Zytherian Council, Ambassador Cottrill's mandibles clicked angrily. "These humans, they are more dangerous than we imagined. Their courage borders on recklessness, or genius." Admiral Vash, humiliated, muttered, "They are ghosts. Nothing we do stops them." On Earth, Torres addressed her commanders. "We did not fight with strength. We fought with intelligence. We adapt. We improvise. And we survive." Her gaze hardened. "The Zytherian think they know the galaxy. They don't even know us." The first strike had set the tone for the war. Humanity was no longer just another species. It was a force that could outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast. The galaxy began to whisper the word that would echo for generations: humans. Captain Lee, watching the destruction in the Orion belt from his corvette, spoke to Mei Ling softly, almost to himself. "They laughed at us. They thought this would be easy. Let them keep thinking that. Because humanity never lost hope. Humanity never surrendered. And humanity would never be underestimated again." The icy surface of Titan stretched beneath them, a frozen desert of methane and nitrogen, under a hazy orange sky. Saturn loomed above like a guardian, its rings shimmering faintly through the cold. Humanity's defenders were ready, hidden beneath ice caves and ancient mining tunnels. Above them, in orbit, the Zytherian armada prepared for what they thought would be a decisive victory. "Titan is rich in helium-3, said Admiral Vash, his mandibles clicking with excitement. "If we crush the humans here, their orbital defenses collapse. Sol is ours within weeks." But humans had prepared for this moment. Colonel Ingrid Vega, commander of the Titan Defense Force, stood in the control room of a massive underground bunker, overlooking the frozen plains. Her troops were tense but focused. "They think raw power will win," she said. "They've never fought us on terrain we control." The first wave came just before the Titanian nightfall. Zytherian frigates descended in formation, plasma turrets blazing, their alien AI calculating every possible move. But humans had set traps the aliens couldn't predict. Hidden under the methane ice were electromagnetic mines, activated by vibrations too subtle for alien sensors. One by one, the advancing ships were torn apart, shuddering as their hulls cracked and systems overloaded. "Contact!" yelled Lieutenant Marco Chin, monitoring surface radar. "A frigate just went down. And another, it's like they can't see us." Vega's eyes narrowed. They can't. That's the point. From the frozen tunnels, human mechs, nimble, heavily armored and camouflaged, emerged silently, striking at the alien landing craft. Plasma fire from the Zytherian cut through ice and rock, but human shields bent the energy and redirected it into the battlefield. Small squads moved like ghosts, appearing behind enemy lines, sabotaging engines and communications. In orbit, Captain Marcus Lee coordinated a secondary attack. His fleet wasn't large, but every ship carried specialized railguns and long-range EMP missiles. They fired in precision bursts, taking down alien orbital defenses while human ground teams exploited the chaos below. "This is insane," muttered Lieutenant Mei Ling over comms. "They're everywhere. How can they fight like this?" Lee smirked. "They fight like humans. Adapt, improvise, survive. That's our advantage." Even the Zytherian AI struggled to calculate human behavior. Every attempt to flank, to anticipate, or to trap them failed. The aliens were forced to divide forces across the moon, reacting to illusions, decoys, and unpredictable strikes. Admiral Vash's bridge shook as a mining laser converted into an improvised cannon struck one of his capital ships. "Impossible," he screamed. "They are everywhere. They are ghosts." Colonel Vega's voice echoed through the Titan command channels. "You wanted firepower? Here's firepower you didn't expect." Her troops detonated a series of subsurface charges, triggering avalanches of frozen methane that swept away alien infantry and vehicles. Amid the chaos, human pilots evacuated civilians from research outposts, ferrying them through asteroid-shielded corridors to safe zones. This was not only military brilliance, it was compassion and cunning combined, a dual edge that alien species often underestimated. In a tense moment, Vega's squad encountered a squadron of Zytherian shock troopers attempting to breach the central energy core. The humans feigned retreat, luring the aliens into a narrow ice canyon. Mines detonated from above, and the canyon collapsed, trapping the alien soldiers in a frozen tomb. "Every move we make," Vega said, "they pay a higher price than they expected." Above the moon, human corvettes darted through Saturn's rings, using the icy debris as cover. They launched precision strikes on alien support ships, disabling communications that would have coordinated the invasion. By the third day, the Zytherian fleet was in disarray. Ships collided in panic maneuvers, transport vessels were stranded, and morale plummeted. For the first time, Admiral Vash considered retreat. But retreat in Zytherian culture was shameful, almost unthinkable. Pride would make them pay. In the hidden command bunker, General Torres monitored the battle remotely. Her voice was calm over secure channels. "Titan is ours. But stay alert. The Zytherian never fight fair. Expect surprises." And they came. A sudden strike by alien stealth drones attempted to breach the northern ice tunnels. Human engineers had anticipated this. They activated magnetic grids that shredded the drones mid-flight. Captain Lee called an orbital bombardment to seal the breach. Every attack, every trap, every improvisation demonstrated a core truth. Humans were not only resilient, they were unpredictable apex strategists. By the end of the week, Titan had been secured. Alien losses were catastrophic. The Zytherian fleet, once confident, limped away, battered and humiliated. Admiral Vash, retreating into deep space, muttered, "These humans, we misjudged them. They are not primitive. They are apex predators." Colonel Vega and her troops surveyed the frozen battlefield. The methane storms whipped across Titan, erasing footprints, but the victory was clear. Humanity had done what no one believed possible. They had turned a frozen moon into a fortress, using ingenuity, bravery, and sheer cunning to defy a species that thought the war would be easy. In council chambers across the galaxy, whispers spread. Reports from Titan sparked awe, fear, and grudging respect. Humans were no longer dismissed as weak. They were a force unlike any the galaxy had seen before. And on Earth, General Torres allowed herself a brief smile. Humanity had proven the first rule of war. Never underestimate a human. The Zytherian would regroup. They would strike again. But now the galaxy knew one undeniable truth. When humans fought, they fought with brains, heart, and ferocity unmatched anywhere in the stars. After Titan, humanity had proved something vital to the galaxy. They could defend a world against an overwhelmingly superior force. But they could not afford to wait. The Zytherian would regroup. They would strike back. Humanity needed a plan, something bold, something audacious. They called it Operation Apex. The plan was simple in ambition but near impossible in execution. Coordinated strikes across multiple star systems to simultaneously cut Cytherian supply lines, sabotage fleets, and cripple their command networks. Humans would fight on multiple fronts at once, a feat that seemed impossible for a species with limited resources compared to the Cytherian Empire. In a secret command hub on Europa, General Elena Torres gathered her top strategists. Holographic maps of neighboring systems flickered in midair. "This is not just a battle," she said. Her voice was calm, almost chilling. "This is a chessboard. Every move counts. Every strike will make them choose, defend here or lose there. And we'll be everywhere at once." Dr. Kiran Shah, crouched over a console displaying quantum predictive models, pointed at the holograms. "Their AI predicts linearly. It assumes threats move in predictable patterns. Humans do not. We will force them into chaos. And chaos is our greatest weapon." The first strike began near Proxima Centauri. A small fleet of corvettes, no more than 10 in number, feigned a direct assault on a Cytherian refueling station. Plasma turrets flared and alien sensors locked onto them, but as expected, the fleet pulled back. Meanwhile, a secondary human squadron using asteroid fields for cover slipped past defenses and destroyed key supply ships. Captain Marcus Lee led the orbital strike personally. "Remember," he said to his pilots, "they can't predict what we'll do. Use it. Bend their expectations. Break them mentally before they break us physically." In Epsilon Eridani, another human fleet deployed experimental EMP missiles designed to disable Cytherian communications. The missiles fired silently, weaving through debris fields and evading automated defenses. When they hit, alien fleets were suddenly blind, unable to coordinate. Capital ships collided, drones malfunctioned, and Cytherian officers struggled to issue orders. Admiral Vash, now overseeing multiple theaters of war, bellowed orders in a panic. "Divert the defense fleets. Protect the supply hubs. Intercept them, everywhere at once." His officers froze. "Sir, it is impossible. They are attacking in ways our AI cannot calculate. We cannot defend all points simultaneously." Vash's mandibles clicked furiously. Rage and disbelief warred on his face. "Then, we fight where we can. Do not let them see fear. Do not." It was too late. Human ingenuity had already struck. Across the galaxy, Cytherian supply chains began to fail. Ships ran low on fuel, drones lost contact with command, and morale dropped as losses mounted unexpectedly. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Torres coordinated the operations with a calm efficiency that belied the chaos unfolding light years away. "Keep the pressure," she instructed. "Every choice they make should cost them more than it costs us. That's how humans win wars, not by brute force alone, but by forcing enemies to exhaust themselves." The Cytherians scrambled their strongest units to respond. But each move was anticipated. Human decoy fleets drew them into traps, orbital ambushes destroyed enemy capital ships, and hidden sabotage teams on moons and asteroids cut off crucial logistics. In one daring maneuver, a human squadron lured an entire alien frigate fleet into a dense asteroid cluster. As the Cytherian ships navigated the maze, magnetic mines detonated with surgical precision. Ships were shredded by collisions, blown apart by gravity wells and rendered useless. The few survivors fled, leaving their comrades behind. Dr. Shah monitored the results, whispering to herself, "Every calculation they made assumed linearity. We are outside every model." The Cytherian began to understand a terrifying reality. Humans were not only unpredictable, they were everywhere at once. In council chambers across the galaxy, alien leaders whispered to each other in panic. "They do not fight like other species, they are ghosts, demons, something, apex." Even within the ranks of human forces, tension ran high. Every strike, every movement carried risk. One mistake could mean annihilation. Yet the human crews thrived on risk, relying on improvisation, intuition, and coordination. Each squadron, each corvette, each strike team became a node in a living, thinking organism, a human mind stretched across light years. By the fifth day of Operation Apex, Cytherian fleets were fragmented, supply lines crippled, and communications in disarray. Planetary outposts fell one by one, not through sheer firepower but through precision, strategy, and the psychological impact of being hunted in impossible ways. Admiral Vash could only stare at the holographic maps, the color red marking human victories spreading like wildfire. They cannot be real," he muttered. "How can one species coordinate on such a scale?" Torres, observing through secure HoloLink, smiled faintly. "Because humans never quit. We never surrender. And when cornered, we do what no other species can: we outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast. The human gambit had worked. Across the galaxy, the Zytherian were losing control not because they were weak, but because humans forced them to fight in ways they could not anticipate. Every move cost the aliens more than it cost the humans. Every victory, no matter how small, reinforced the terrifying truth: humanity was no longer to be underestimated. Even allies in the Galactic Council, who had previously dismissed Earth as a minor player, began to take notice. "These humans," one ambassador murmured, "they are something else entirely." And deep in space, Captain Lee, leading his squadron across the debris of Epsilon Eridani, whispered to his co-pilot Mei Ling, "They laughed at us once. Let them keep laughing. By the time they realize what we've done, it will be too late." Because humanity had done more than strike. They had mastered strategy, psychology, and unpredictability across multiple star systems at once. The Zytherian would never forget the lesson. Humans were not just survivors. Humans were apex predators in the galaxy. The victory of Operation Apex sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Humanity had struck the Zytherian where it hurt most, and the alien empire reeled in confusion. But as the Zytherian scrambled to recover, another threat loomed, one that came not from the stars, but from the very halls of the Galactic Council. For centuries, the Council had claimed to be the governing body of interstellar diplomacy, a neutral forum for the galaxy's countless species. But beneath its grand halls and gleaming spires, ambition and deceit ran rampant. Many members had quietly resented humanity's rise. They had underestimated humans once. They would not make the same mistake twice. Ambassador Cottrill, furious at the recent defeats, had secretly allied with a faction of council members who saw humanity's cunning as a threat to their own power. They hatched a plan to lure humanity into a peace summit near Betelgeuse, ostensibly to negotiate an armistice. But in reality, it was a trap. General Elena Torres received the invitation through the council's official channels. The message was polished, almost elegant. "We propose a meeting to discuss ceasefire terms," it read. "The galaxy cannot afford further conflict. Your species is respected." Torres studied the message, her eyes narrowing. "Respect?" she murmured. "Or fear disguised as respect? This smells like a trap." She convened her closest advisors in the deep command center beneath the Pacific Ocean. Holographic displays lit the room with the Betelgeuse sector's star systems. "They think they can lure us in," she said. "But humans always expect treachery. We'll turn the trap into their downfall." Dr. Kiran Shah, analyzing the sector's navigation grids, nodded. "We can feed them controlled false intelligence. Let them prepare for a human fleet that isn't there. Meanwhile, our real forces strike where they won't expect." Captain Marcus Lee, already en route with his squadron, grinned. "Ghosts and shadows. That's humanity. They think they're hunting us, but they're walking into our web." The human fleet approached Betelgeuse under stealth, cloaked among asteroids and dark nebulae. Alien ships patrolled the sector, scanning for threats. But every sensor was deceived by carefully deployed holographic decoys and electronic countermeasures. What appeared as a massive human armada was in fact a fraction of their real forces. Inside the council chambers, the conspirators waited confidently. They had deployed the Zytherian as enforcers, assuming humans would fall into their trap with predictable caution. But as the meeting began, the council chamber shields activated, not to protect the humans, but to trap the alien strike force in an enclosed zone. A sudden alert flashed across the monitors. "Zytherian cruisers are disabled," reported Lieutenant Rami Khan. "They've lost propulsion and communications. It's controlled remotely." Torres leaned forward. "We didn't come to negotiate. We came to demonstrate a lesson in humility." The humans' hidden strike teams, stationed on nearby moons and in asteroid belts, activated orbital pulse emitters. They disabled the alien ship's engines, fried sensor arrays, and rendered AI command units useless. Within minutes, dozens of Zytherian vessels drifted helplessly, frozen in space. Ambassador Cottrill's mandibles clicked in alarm. "Impossible. They cannot manipulate technology at this scale." Vega, leading ground-based operatives, infiltrated key council satellites, cutting communication channels between conspirators. Hollow projections of the council chamber flickered with panic as their plans unraveled. Every attempt to corner the humans failed, every move anticipated. "Colonel Vega," Torres said over secure comms, "they've underestimated what humans do best: adapt under pressure. Turn their treachery against them." Vega smiled grimly. "Already in motion. Watch them choke on their own arrogance." As the alien strike force floundered, human corvettes emerged from behind nebulae, striking isolated capital ships. Missiles detonated with surgical precision, disabling weapons and leaving enemy crews scrambling. Even the Zytherian dreadnoughts, confident and heavily armed, found themselves trapped in orbital currents designed by human engineers, a web of improvisation and tactical foresight. Inside the Council, chaos reigned. Species that had once plotted against humanity now realized their mistake too late. Security forces attempted to flee, but the humans had cut off all escape vectors. Every ambush the Council had planned turned into a human counter-ambush. Finally, Torres addressed the chamber directly, her voice calm and commanding. "You sought to betray us," she said, holograms highlighting each conspirator. "You thought humans could be trapped. You were wrong. You do not understand humans. We survive. We adapt. And when cornered, we do not retreat, we strike." The chamber went silent. Even Cottrell's mandibles were still, a rare sign of shock. Humans had turned a trap designed to destroy them into a resounding victory, proving again that cunning, strategy and resilience were as deadly as weapons. Outside the chamber, orbital fleets monitored the aftermath. The Zytherian cruisers, crippled and drifting, symbolized not just human power, but human foresight and adaptability. Intelligence and planning had become humanity's deadliest weapon. Torres allowed herself a rare moment of satisfaction. "Operation Apex was one thing," she said. "But Operation Betelgeuse shows the galaxy another truth. Humans cannot be deceived. Humans cannot be controlled. And humans always survive the impossible." In the wider galaxy, whispers spread rapidly. Humanity was no longer just a competent species. They were a force that could outthink, outmaneuver, and dominate even when betrayed by allies and surrounded by enemies. Even among those who had underestimated them before, respect and fear grew. The legend of human cunning had spread further than any orbital strike, any battle, or any propaganda. Humanity had shown that treachery against them was not just futile, it was suicidal. And deep in space, Captain Lee whispered to his co-pilot Mei Ling, watching the Betelgeuse sector calm after the storm. "They thought they could trap us. They thought they were smart. But humans are smarter than they'll ever understand." The galaxy had learned a lesson. Betrayal was dangerous when humans were involved. And the humans were just getting started. The heart of Zytherian space was a graveyard of silence, punctuated only by the distant hum of alien engines and the flickering lights of damaged fleets. For months, humanity had harried their forces across multiple star systems, dismantling supply lines, sabotaging ships, and outmaneuvering every calculation their AI could make. But the Zytherian had one final hope: their flagship, the city-sized dreadnought Oblivion. Oblivion was a fortress in the void, a mobile city with enough firepower to annihilate an entire planetary system. Its hull shimmered with adaptive shielding, its plasma cannons could destroy capital ships in a single shot, and its AI had been fed with centuries of interstellar combat data. To any other species, it was unstoppable. But humans had never fought like any other species. General Elena Torres, aboard the flagship human carrier Resolute, addressed her fleet over secure channels. "This is it. The Zytherian have one final weapon, one final hope. But we are humans. We do not retreat. We do not surrender. And we certainly do not fight fair." Captain Marcus Lee, leading the Vanguard Squadron, checked his weapons. "They think they can end us in one shot. They think one ship can destroy the species. Let's prove them wrong." The human fleet, small but agile, advanced into the system. They appeared as weak specks against the enormous Oblivion, but every vessel carried quantum railguns, stealth fields, and EMP disruptors. Engineers had modified missile warheads to anticipate AI targeting patterns. Every ship was a chess piece, every pilot a grandmaster. Admiral Vash, aboard Oblivion, scanned the approaching fleet. His mandibles clicked nervously. They should not be here. One flagship cannot face an entire fleet alone. And yet, they approach without fear. From hidden positions behind asteroids and nebulae, human strike teams launched coordinated attacks. Mines detonated near escort ships, disabling shields. Corvettes dodged plasma streams, using debris fields to mask their approach. Humans did not just attack, they manipulated the battlefield itself. Dr. Kiran Shah, coordinating quantum hacking drones, whispered into her comms. "Oblivion's AI assumes linear patterns. Feed it chaos. Feed it unpredictability. Make it believe the fleet is in one place, then strike from another." The AI reacted. Oblivion rotated, fired, predicted, but every calculation was already outdated. Human missiles emerged from vectors the AI had never computed, striking critical points in the dreadnought's shield matrix. Small corvettes darted into the hull's blind spots, planting precision charges designed to disrupt power conduits. In the midst of the battle, Lieutenant Mei Ling piloted a stealth corvette directly into the flagship's orbital hangar. "We're inside," she said quietly. "Time to plant the charges." Meanwhile, on the surface of a nearby moon, Colonel Ingrid Vega's sabotage teams activated a network of gravity wells. Enormous metal spheres, powered by human ingenuity, warped space just enough to slow enemy reinforcements. Ships that should have arrived in minutes were delayed by hours, creating pockets of isolation for the human attackers. Admiral Vash roared in fury. "Stop them. Do not let them reach the core." But every attempt failed. Humans had created overlapping layers of strategy, a battlefield within a battlefield. Every strike, every maneuver forced the Zytherian to react, and every reaction played into human hands. Captain Lee radioed back to Torres, "Quantum charges are set. We have a clear exit path, barely." Torres's voice came calm, steady, unwavering. "Do it." Humanity is not measured by caution, it is measured by results. The charges detonated, ripping through Oblivion's core systems in a brilliant explosion visible across light years. Plasma arcs danced across the hull, and the city-sized flagship shattered, sending debris cascading in all directions. The Zytherian fleet, bereft of its command node, faltered immediately. Capital ships collided. Drones malfunctioned. Morale evaporated. Admiral Vash's screen went dark. For the first time, the legendary tactician realized the truth. Humans were more than adaptable, they were unstoppable. Even as the flagship burned, human corvettes weaved through the debris, rescuing stranded crews, maintaining fleet integrity, and securing victory with minimal loss. Humans did not celebrate recklessly, they knew the war was not yet over, but they had achieved the impossible. The heart of the Zytherian fleet was gone. General Torres addressed the fleet over comms. "The galaxy has seen what humans can do. Remember this, it is not strength alone that defines a species. It is cunning, resilience, and the refusal to be defeated." In council chambers across the galaxy, alien leaders gasped. The humans had not only survived an impossible war, they had destroyed the apex ship of an empire. Even allies who had doubted Earth's capability now bowed to respect. Captain Lee, looking at the wreckage of Oblivion, whispered to Mei Ling, "They thought this war would be easy. They thought one ship could end us. But humans make their own rules." The galaxy had witnessed humanity's final gambit. Strategy, bravery, and ingenuity had triumphed over overwhelming power. The war the Zytherian thought would be simple had instead become a legendary tale of human apex capability. And somewhere deep in the void, Torres allowed herself a small, rare smile. The humans had done more than survive, they had demonstrated why the galaxy would never underestimate them again. The stage was set for the final resolution. Humanity stood unbroken, unstoppable, and supreme. The wreckage of Oblivion drifted through the void like a shattered moon. The once feared Zytherian flagship, a symbol of their empire's invincibility, had been reduced to floating debris. Across the galaxy, systems that had trembled at the mention of the Zytherian now whispered a new name with awe: humanity. General Alina Torres stood on the command deck of the Resolute, gazing at the star-strewn expanse. Her fleet had survived the impossible. Millions of humans had fought with courage, cunning, and adaptability, proving that the species was more than the sum of its parts. Humans were unpredictable, unstoppable apex. Beside her, Captain Marcus Lee exhaled slowly. "We did it," he said quietly, almost disbelievingly. "The flagship, gone. Entire fleets, in retreat. We've won." Torres shook her head, eyes scanning the holographic displays of the galaxy. "We've done more than win. We've sent a message. The galaxy now knows that humanity is not to be underestimated. They may rebuild, regroup, but they will always remember us." From the council chambers on Epsilon Prime, alien leaders were in shock. Ambassador Cottrill, whose mandibles had once clicked with condescension, now bowed to humanity's representative. "Your species has earned its place among the apex civilizations," he said. "We underestimated you. Never again." Torres replied simply, "We do not fight for pride or conquest. We fight to survive. And sometimes, we win." Across the stars, human engineers and scientists began the work of reconstruction and stabilization. Colonies that had been under siege were rebuilt. Trade routes were re-established. The galaxy, once fragmented by fear and dominance, began to recognize Earth not just as a participant, but as a leader. But humans did not stop at mere survival. They extended aid to former allies, even species that had once doubted them. Every gesture, every alliance reinforced a single truth: humanity was not only clever and resilient, it was honorable. On Titan, Colonel Ingrid Vega surveyed the icy plains now dotted with human colonies. Children ran between geodesic shelters, unaware that the same moons had once been a battlefield. The methane storms no longer carried the scent of fear, they carried hope. "We've done it," she said softly to her team. "We've made a world safe for humans, and everyone who relies on us." Meanwhile, in orbit above Betelgeuse, Captain Li and Lieutenant Mei Ling prepared their next patrol. Despite the victory, humanity remained vigilant. "They'll try again," Mei Ling said. Li smiled faintly. "Let them. We're humans. We always find a way." The legend of humanity's resilience spread like wildfire. Across star systems, alien species whispered tales of human ingenuity: the strikes in the Orion Belt, the siege of Titan, the human gambit, the Betelgeuse countertrap, and finally, the destruction of Oblivion. These stories became part of galactic lore, a warning and a lesson. Humans cannot be predicted, controlled, or defeated so easily. Even Zytherian survivors carried the tale, humbled and terrified. They had thought the war would be easy. Instead, it had become a masterclass in human apex capability. Admiral Vash, in exile on a distant world, muttered, "They are ghosts, predators, and strategists all in one. Never underestimate humans." Back on Earth, the United Nations of Space formally recognized General Torres and her commanders. Statues were erected, records immortalized, and a new era of galactic diplomacy began, with humans at the table not as children but as equals, respected and feared for their cunning, bravery, and adaptability. Torres, standing before a crowd of human and alien delegates alike, addressed the galaxy with quiet authority. "We did not win because we were the strongest. We won because we never stopped thinking, adapting, and caring for one another. The galaxy is vast and dangers will always arise, but humanity will endure. Humanity will rise. And humanity will never be underestimated again." The assembled crowd erupted into applause, human and alien alike. It was not just a celebration of victory, it was a celebration of the indomitable human spirit. In the quiet of space, Li and Mei Ling drifted aboard their corvette, watching Saturn's rings glow softly in the distance. "Do you think the galaxy is ready for humans?" Mei Ling asked. Li smiled. "The galaxy doesn't have to be ready. Humans will make them ready." And so, humanity ascended, not through sheer numbers, not through brute force, but through intelligence, adaptability, cunning, and courage. They had faced betrayal, impossible odds, and the might of an empire, yet they had emerged stronger, wiser, and supreme. The war the Zytherian thought would be easy had instead become a legend of humanity's apex nature. From the icy moons of Saturn to the deepest reaches of Zytherian space, the message was clear: never underestimate a human. Stars shone brightly, civilizations whispered tales of courage, and humanity looked forward, not backward, with eyes full of determination. The galaxy had changed forever, and humans had claimed their rightful place among the apex species. For the first time the galaxy knew, humans were not just survivors. Humans were masters of their destiny. And somewhere deep in the void their laughter echoed, a simple, quiet truth carried on the solar winds: we are human and we are unstoppable.